And there we are. We are live, buddy. Big show tonight. I think we were. I knew it was going to be a big show already. SEC football media days, football recruiting, baseball. Jay Johnson loading up new players, and of course you had him for an interview today. We're going to talk about that. But then we get hit with Texas and Oklahoma petitioning or wanting to start the process to negotiate a departure from the Big 12 to the SEC, and I have a feeling that's going to dominate a big part of this chat, and I got a lot that I want to say about it. And but welcome in everybody to TigerBait Live. Buddy Sonji, of course, Baton Rouge Sports Talk legend with us, and big thanks to Pride Roofing, as always, Mike Faraday and Alex Martinez for sponsoring this show each and every week. Please, everybody, do me a favor. If you're on Facebook, hit the share button. Please share the show to all the LSU groups. And of course, if you're on YouTube and on Facebook, if you enjoy the show, please hit the like button. It helps our algorithm, and much appreciative to all of you. So, how's it going, buddy?
Well, you know, I was going to wear the sunglasses today, or tonight actually, because I've been feeling under the weather a little bit. But Mike says, look, it's 8 o'clock. It gets dark at this time, so don't try to play Joe Cool. But yeah, you know, it was great. I had you on. We were talking about Le'Veon Moss and a potential flip to the good guys. And then we were talking about recruiting. And then I had Coach Johnson on. And, you know, one of the things that we've got to say that he's picked up and ran with the ball is doing an incredible job with the media like Paul Mainieri did. Now, it will take him a while to call everybody by their first name. But Paul Mainieri did great things with the media and gave great access. And so we were one of the last guys locally to have him on, and I was appreciative of him giving us about 20 minutes today talking about a variety of topics. So we're at the end of the show. Taylor and I, my producer, and we're talking, and all of a sudden I just go to one of the websites, and boom, there it hits me at about 2:30, 2:45. The Houston Chronicle breaking the story that Texas and OU are interested in coming possibly to the SEC, and there could be interest on the SEC side of it. And guess who's getting ready to go on the stage? Jimbo Fisher, who went about 3 o'clock, and right out of the gate, man, he's hit with this. So incredible timing. We got a lot to talk about. I got some facts and stats and nuggets for you.
Yeah, definitely. Look, it absolutely. By the way, you talking about Jay Johnson, the media. I think everybody's first impression of him is that he was not going to be as accessible because he's not, he's got a good personality. He's a friendly guy, but he seems more of, I think people got the impression he's more like a Nick Saban. Like he's going to do the bare minimum, just the facts, punch and get out, and he's done. But it's my understanding that he's absolutely loving the amount of media interest, fan interest, and he's going to keep up the same pace that Paul Mainieri is done until I guess it gets to whatever point. But
until he loses the game.
Yeah, no, but I think he's absolutely loving it, and so I think that's probably a misconception that I know I had that he might not like the media attention. He's just going to do what he needs to do, and that'll be it. And then he'll start telling Bill Frank, no, I don't want to do that one anymore, or do I have to go to that one? Can I just go to that one and not that one? Speaking events, whatever, but. It's my understanding he's taken to it, and he's amazed by the amount of fan interest and media interest in baseball here, and so he's not turning anything down. So
well, the only reason I told you that he reminded me of Saban is not his media presence or what he wanted to do, but Saban came to LSU and 49 years old, and obviously, we all met him in the media at the Independence Bowl when he was coaching Michigan State, and Jerry DiNardo and LSU put a whipping on them in Freeport. And that first meeting with Nick, he had glasses, he looked like a nerd. I mean, was the horse's patut. And then, of course, he comes over to Baton Rouge, and the rest is history. Jay is 44, but has a lot of qualities like Nick. Consummate worker, attention to detail, dots every I, crosses every T, doesn't leave a stone unturned. I mean, he hadn't even thought about leaving Arizona with his house or getting into a house over here. Kim Mulkey had the same transition. She has an edge up because she knows Louisiana and has people that can help her. But, man, I'm as excited as can be and you've been saying it on this show, Tiger fans, hold on to your seatbelt because this is going to be a fun ride in 2021.
Yeah, he's. You mentioned that Independence Bowl. I think I just thawed out from that thing about 6 months ago. That Independence Bowl in Shreveport, that stadium, it was freezing that day.
Well, there were a couple freezing ones, and that was the one against Notre Dame. But the Michigan State game was pretty classic, and of course, back to Jay Johnson.
Yeah.
And Coach Mulkey and everybody. LSU's got a heck of an entourage now and a lineup with their coaches. And so we'll get into SEC Media Days. But Jimbo Fisher, once again, Texas A&M. Here comes Texas. Do you think that was coincidental or irony that story broke right before Jimbo was going on?
Let me tell you something. I remember it like it was yesterday when Texas A&M was, and Gene Stallings was trying to make it happen. And the Texas people in Austin were incredulous. How dare you think about leaving us? And, and then when it happened, Jeff Ketchum at Orange Bloods, I remember his posts. I can see him, his tweets. He was publicly saying that no school in the state of Texas should schedule the Aggies in any sport, totally freeze them out, shut them out.
Yeah.
How dare you allow the SEC get a bigger foothold in this state with recruits, and on and on and on. And that is basically the thought process of a Texas Longhorn fan. Arrogant. If you think there's a fan base in the SEC that's the most arrogant, you haven't met many Texas Longhorn fans. They're just a different breed. So anyways, I go over to look at TexAgs.com's message board. And of course, Tex Ags, Billy Lucci, and David Sandhop, and Jason Howell, and all those guys over there. That's a juggernaut college website. If you know the business, there is no college sports website in America bigger than TexAgs.com. Of course, they made news on Saturday where they're going to name, image, and likeness a couple of players for $10,000 each for exclusive interviews. But I went and peeked over at their message board today when that news broke, and I don't know, I hadn't even looked at it lately with the message. They had a thread that I'm telling you, it had about 90,000 views, and probably it was at least 16 or 17 pages long, and they are absolutely against it. And you did the research; it takes a 2/3 vote of the university presidents. And I'm sorry, I'm absolutely against those two schools joining the Big 12. And if you legitimately look at it and you think about if those two join and you go to a 16-team league and you divide it into 8 and you do a true West and a true East, and LSU would absolutely, just if you did it by geography, would be a West team, you're essentially no longer in the SEC in my mind. You're basically, whatever your division of the SEC, that West is like Queen with Adam Lambert instead of Queen with Freddie Mercury.
Oh, I like the analogy.
That's exactly what it is. It's a faux Queen, nice little thing there, but it's not the same. And what are the games, if you're an LSU fan, that you've been looking forward to your whole life? You're looking for Auburn. You're looking for Alabama. You're looking for the Florida Gators. So who are you going to be in a division with if it's a true West and a true East by geography? All the interlopers, plus Ole Miss and Mississippi State.
But we don't know.
Who wants to go to Norman? Who the hell wants to go to Columbia, Missouri every other year?
Well, LSU did last year and couldn't get in from the half-yard line.
Seriously.
And they haven't been to Kentucky since '07. They're going to make that trip this year in October. Look, let's take some response from people, but I want to give a couple tidbits. LSU joined the league in 1922. They actually started calling it the SEC, the Southeastern Conference, in 1932. Arkansas and Carolina joined the league. Arkansas and South Carolina joined July 1, 1991, and Texas A&M and Missouri joined July 1 of 2012. By law, the SEC bylaws, 11 of the 14 schools have to extend the invite, and we already know that Texas A&M and Missouri are saying, wait a minute, are you crazy? We don't want this. So this is going to be interesting to see how this works out.
If I'm LSU, it's a no vote. I'm seeing a comment saying no, there's a new deal, and you wouldn't have to split it up if you had two more teams. I don't know that. I would like to see what the scenarios are, but there's no way Texas A&M is going to be for it. And maybe there's somebody here in the chat that's an LSU fan in Oklahoma that can give us the political breakdown in the Oklahoma legislature and what school the governor of Oklahoma graduated from. I don't know if there's a majority of Oklahoma State grads in the House and Senate in the state of Oklahoma. But I can tell you, Oklahoma State is going to try to throw a monkey wrench into that all day long because their fortunes are absolutely diminished to oblivion without Oklahoma attached. A&M don't want them. And I don't know. I talked to another source this afternoon that said that there's a scenario years down the road where he can see 32 teams in a super conference that break away from everything, and it basically being like an NFL type of a league.
Well, originally that number was 60, which was 5 super conferences with 12. Now they've gone to 14. This could make it 16.
The point is, if you basically carve up everything, and there's no more Vanderbilts and Missouris in your super league, and it's nothing but the Ohio States and LSU's and Alabamas and Texas and so on. You really have become. We're already saying it's semi-pro football with name, image, and likeness. Then you really would be, and then you're really getting to a deal where, if you do something like that, you're absolutely vying for that advertising dollar against the NFL. And at what point does the NFL say, no longer are we going to abide by those other rules, and we're going to change our rules, and a guy like Derek Stingley can be eligible after his freshman year?
Yeah.
Because it's. If you're going to start paying them and they're making money, your argument about them being amateur athletes is out the window as well. So that's going to be the next domino to fall.
And that's why you got to watch this show and watch Mike. I thought you did an outstanding job last night. Look, I apologize. I enjoy watching these shows better than being on them, being a radio guy all these years. But I have enjoyed the interaction. I thought you did a great job. Sorry about the mic last time I was here. That was a faux pas, and Scarborough made me run extra 440s after the show. Look, there's some TV contract situations that we're going to bring in as well. Texas and OU have signed a grant of rights agreement in which they granted their first and second tier media rights to football and men's basketball to the Big 12 through June 30th, 2025. So, and also the Big 12 TV contracts with ESPN and Fox expire in 2025. So this is going to be interesting, but as you know, what happens is you have this discussion, there's all this lobbying behind closed doors, and it'll get spicy, it'll get political, and they're not going to, unless they have the votes to pass it, it won't come to a vote. They'll know who's going to vote, whatever.
I tell you what will be enjoyable for sure is watching A&M fans and Longhorn fans go after each other, whether it be on message boards, social media, because that was, from an outsider looking in on the state of Texas, that was like the marquee move of all time. You can debate at the time whether you wanted the SEC to expand, but if you're a Texas A&M person, that was the greatest move in the history of that school, because they got from underneath the Texas shadow and
got out of the Big 12.
They joined the Premier League. They already had good baseball. You had Pat Henry in track. They've done some decent things in basketball. Hired Jimbo Fisher, and you had Johnny Manziel right out the chute when they joined the league. But the backlash from Texas fans towards A&M, it's dredging all that up, and the animosity. And they're spitting mad in College Station.
And they will be picked ahead of LSU in the SEC West. And I like the little thing that you put on the site about this is the most ridiculous thing. Folks, I'm sorry. ESPN FPI is about as much fake news as you can get to. And I'm not talking politics. In 2019, when LSU beat the 1, 2, 3, and 4, after the season was over, the FPI and ESPN still had LSU 3. After they beat Alabama in that incredible 46-41 game, they still had Alabama ahead of LSU. They are using this ESPN FPI stat like it's all that and a bag of chips, and it's not even.
I think Dick Vitale and Max Kellerman tweaked the formula there. Yeah. All right, guys, let me get to your questions. We're about 15 minutes in, and we haven't got to one question. Our buddy Scott Tronhoff says, let's have a great show early on. Blaine Smith, one of our favorites. What is the word on Le'Veon Moss possibly flipping? I teased it last week, and that drum beat is just getting louder and louder. What I can tell you is that all these guys, whether it's Emory Jones, Quincy Wiggins, you got Major Burns, who's now back at LSU. All these guys played prep football together, pee-wee football. Some of them went to the same middle schools together. I think there's something going on there with Le'Veon Moss, and he's definitely one to pay attention to, and I'm just going to leave it at that. But the confidence level on that is I thought it was getting there last week, and it's even more so now. So
once again, don't forget the show tonight, brought to you by our main sponsor, Pride Roofing, folks. We take great pride in being a sponsor, and if you ever have the occasion to deal with Mike and Alex, we feel like you're going to be very satisfied. 225-275-2041 in this area, 985-222-3296 in the New Orleans area. And we all know the details, but I am sponsored tonight by my Greystone guys with my hat and the Pride Roofing shirt. So we all know about the deal, but we couldn't do it without Mike and Alex. Appreciate those guys on a Wednesday night.
Absolutely. More and more guys have jumped on that, and gals. We had a few ladies that jumped on it. You call Pride Roofing at the number 225-275-2041 or any of their numbers. They've got an 800 number that we're going to start giving out real soon as well. But, toll free or there's no such thing as long distance anymore. But you call them up and say, heard about you on TigerBait. They're going to pay for you to have premium TigerBait free for a year. And you get that with a free roof inspection, no obligation. So you can't beat it. And they're paying the bill for you to have TigerBait free for a year. Mark Chambers, hey, hello, Mike and Buddy. Glad you're with us, Mark. Let's see. Anything about the Texas team? Okay, we talked about that. Any more news on Moss flipping? We covered that. Samuel Hostin. Kenny Russell, one of our best buddies in this chat. Always a great questions. Mike, sounds like Texas and OU is a done deal. I don't think it's a done deal, but what's interesting to me, Sankey is on the premises. All the media is there. He could have nipped that in the bud in a minute. That's not true. We haven't talked to them. There's been no conversations. So either the Houston Chronicle story is 100% true or it's false, and Sankey is thinking to himself, well, it doesn't hurt me to just not give a denial. I'll go ahead and talk to him.
It would kill the Big 12. It would certainly help the SEC with the brand. Hey, here are all the things that we've got going on right now, okay? NIL hit July 1, and Nick Saban, by the way, casually goes over to the Texas High School Association and says, oh, by the way, my quarterback, he hadn't really started a game for us yet, but he's got about $1 million in NIL money coming his way. All those Texas high school saying, Mom and Daddy, do you hear that? That was a plant, and certainly... so we got NIL, we got this possible expansion to 12 in the CPF, and now we've got this thing with obviously potential super conference with the SEC being the first one to 16 if it goes down. All that's on the plate in the next couple years.
Stephen Stokes says you have to take them to good schools with many sports programs. I saw Feinbaum mentioning that. It's like, you have to at least talk to them. You have to get a lay of the land, because if you don't take them, somebody else is. And that's his logic, and there's probably something to it. Paul Escon, your buddy Paul, says, glad to see the Bud Man in the house. Fall camp around the corner, says Blaine Smith. Yep, we're almost there. Brian Madeir. Oklahoma and the Horns to the west, Bama and War Chickens to the east. Make it happen, Stinky.
Good Good to hear from Brian and, of course, PFM, who, by the way, did business with Pride Roofing. He could not believe how efficient they were. I want to say he got to his house at like 7:38, and had the puppy finished everything, cleaned up and everything, 4:30 or 5 o'clock same day. He's a one happy guy.
Awesome, awesome.
And a hell of an LSU sports fan, by the way.
By the way, so you mentioned what Saban did, dropping that dollar amount. Is that where we're going to get to, too, by the way? Where is that going to be, is it going to get gaudy or unseemly like that, where you're going to have sports information directors or head coaches, along with, okay, we had this many draft picks, we had this many first-round picks, and by the way, the total of our players' NLI money last calendar year was this amount.
Yeah, we're uncharted territory, and give Nick credit. He did back up and say that, but he threw that baby out there Tuesday, and it kind of overshadowed what was going on at SEC Media Days Tuesday, and then the bomb with Texas and OU this afternoon late. By the way, Mike and I both agree that Texas A&M does have an appreciably easier schedule, but I'm not ready to predict A&M is going to beat Alabama. They do have them at College Station this year. And the only reason they beat Florida last year is because Florida fumbled the ball and they kicked the field goal at the end of the game.
I don't know if it was Ben Watson or Roman Harper later today, but he brought up a good point. A lot of people are looking at Missouri and what they might be this year. And A&M goes to Missouri after that Alabama game. And if they lay an egg against Alabama and all of a sudden they get Missouri and they're still licking their wounds and down in the dumps about what just happened, because everybody's touting them to be the second coming, which you guys know I disagree with it. They could have 2 losses back to back, but the early part of the schedule, I mean, it's a joke. Colorado and Denver. Colorado's finished last in the Pac-12 in their division,
and of course they would have to play Ole Miss and LSU. LSU on the road. Interesting. I think the predictions are going to come out tomorrow or Friday morning, whatever it is. And you Tiger fans, I think that ESPN's given them enough motivation. I think there's some more motivation. By the way, let's see how good your memory is. You ready? 2018. Nick Saban picked by Alabama. He's all, don't pick us. You guys never get it right.
Rat poison.
But LSU was picked 5th that year, and Coach O was on the hot seat. You remember? Oh, yeah. Everybody was saying this guy could lose his job.
You got morons out there now saying he's on the hot seat now.
Well, but my point is that I like them when they disrespect LSU. If that team isn't full of P and V, I don't know.
No, I'm okay with them picking LSU 3rd. That's a good spot. If I'm Orgeron, I want that. But that FPI where they're picked.
Oh yeah, that's trash.
That was just.
By the way, I have
and on that graphic, you can make a debate that maybe Alabama's ratio wasn't high enough.
No doubt. I have changed my AP predicted poll, Mike. I think LSU is going to come in now, and a lot of people feed off of these media days. We know that the Big 12's had a splash. ACC and Dabo. I'm thinking LSU's going to come out of the gate now in the AP 14. 15 range, and Florida's going to be picked ahead of them. Texas A&M's going to be picked ahead of them. Alabama going to be 1, and Georgia plays Clemson. Clemson will be 3-4. So once again,
I want Georgia to win that opener.
Yeah.
That's absolutely.
Georgia's going to win the East without any problem this year. Their schedule is cupcake.
I'm looking at my statistics I've been loading up. By the way, you guys probably see it on the YouTube channel. I've loaded up every interview with every head coach, and we got them all in one place. And I'm laughing at the numbers for Mike Stoops. He's got the lowest viewed video on our channel. Like nobody's paying. Nobody cares. And then you saw the ticket prices. I
saw that.
Yeah, the highest ticket price in third party is LSU. The lowest price is Kentucky at $28.
Yeah. Well, that's a trap game for LSU, though.
Yeah, no, they're dangerous.
They are dangerous. And by the way, Darren Rosenthal is going to start at one of their tackle spots.
And our boy Jacques Doucet was firing off questions about that.
Well, I heard his thing with Charlie today, too. And look, we've been talking about that. And there's 2 schools of thought. You can go into a home and say, if your son smokes marijuana this many times, you're gonna have some disciplinary situations to deal with. And as we know, going back to Tyrann Mathieu and many others, we know Sadiq Charles, who tweeted out, "If you want to smoke pot, don't go to LSU." Then he deleted it. But it's been a competitive disadvantage, and we're not going to name names, but there was a guy at Alabama that flunked 7 tests. He was supposed to be an outside linebacker, first-round pick. Went to the combo. They found out he had failed 7 tests, and I think he'd sat out a half of a game. Guess where he ended up getting drafted? 3rd round, and he's already out of the league. So on that flip side, you can turn it as a positive and say it's going to help your son. On the other side, you keep losing players to suspensions, and I'll be honest with you, I was surprised Dare Rosenthal came back to LSU knowing that if he failed one more, there were going to be serious repercussions and he would miss the whole season or 6 games. I forgot which one it was.
Here's the problem you have. I'd like to know the average age of the parent of these recruits that you're talking about. Because in my mind, and really kind of what I'm hearing, more than 50% of the parents believe that weed is no big deal. So you're going to have some old school parents, yeah, but I think over 50%, in particular with the age they are and the era they grew up in, and it's probably used in the house.
Well, Willie Nelson and Snoop Dogg's kids would
Yeah.
certainly have smelled it before.
Yeah, I mean, so and I'm not making any judgments. I'm just that's the statistics I'm hearing. Dale Broussard, Texas goes 6-6 playing in the SEC.
How would you divvy it up? Here's the other thing and I don't want to jump to the conclusions like it's going to happen, but
Was it you that hit me with the Arch Manning angle?
there was a couple of people that told me that they feel like Texas is right there, the leader with Arch, and that maybe the Mannings said, "Hey, look, we want to play in the SEC," and of course Sark is doing everything he can to really do a great job of recruiting. I gotta be honest with you, Steve Sarkisian, that's as good a play calling as I've seen last year with Bama. He did a great job, got that gig over at Texas, but it's just not 1, 2, 3, and you jump leagues. But could you imagine, though, all of a sudden, if this does happen and you have that geographical West and East, how does that affect baseball, basketball, all the other sports? And as I said, with them having that media rights committed to the Big 12 for 2025, this is going to be some real tugging between the powers to be. 11 of 14 schools have got to sign off of it for that to be approved.
Yeah, Paul Escon, SEC or not, I will never, ever make that Austin trip again. One thing, I think I would like some of the food, Mexican food, Tex-Mex in Austin. And I'm very much jealous of the musical acts that they get there versus compared to what we get here in the Baton Rouge area. But, I don't know not some LSU fans I know had a great time on that trip. So
hey, by the way, shout out to Blake Ruffino.
And of course, Joe Burrow with the
well, they did shoot his jersey, a cannonball through his jersey, and I think that really PO'd Joe. But our buddy Blake Ruffino, a week or so ago before he went on vacation, was telling everybody Texas doesn't want to come back and play the game. Of course, it was canceled last year because of COVID. And if this actually comes to fruition, Texas is going to play LSU. And so,
hey, by the way, I'm always looking for a screen grab.
Yeah.
For a thumbnail for the video. I'm gonna go ahead and make one for you.
Oh, well, the Big 12 kind of did some a controversy when they said that if you're a Texas player, and I'm an A&M, well, not A&M, but an Oklahoma player, and you score a touchdown in the big game in Dallas, and I go to you, horns down, that's a penalty. But if you go to the fan base or whatever, they said, you just do it to the stands and to your own players.
We have to tolerate the Vandy Whistler. We have to tolerate the Mississippi State Cowbells. And if Texas somehow finagles their way in the SEC, they're going to have to tolerate horns down.
They just signed a big corporate deal with Shorman. Texas is very, very soft.
Yeah, they're candy asses. That's the word. Let's see.
I always have tidbits to add when we're looking for stuff, so light Mike up.
Let's see. Let me go down here. Charles Duncan asked about Sean Murphy. Yeah, I talked to someone yesterday. Great LSU source says they felt real good about him. And then I got a message this morning, and I made another call, and that one looks Bama. So,
yeah.
But don't worry. Blake Baker is a hell of a recruiter. And I think LSU's linebacker class is going to be darn stout. So,
by the way, Paul says barbecue was awesome. The heat and the tailgating were awful. Musically, Nashville is significantly better than Austin. That comes from PFM, him, Paco, and all those guys. Made the trip.
Well, Nashville does get some rock music, and you guys know I hate new country. So
yeah,
and I absolutely hate that new SEC promo. That is awful. Awful. I hate new country. All right. Let's see. Why don't we get the Revivalists? I don't know. Probably don't know who the Revivalists are. A great rock and roll band from New Orleans. I mean, they could do a great SEC football promo.
I'm no scorer, JD, with rock, but I know a few things.
Let's see.
Pete, he just answered you. Nashville is not what you think it is regarding country music now. You would love it.
Yeah, no, a lot of rockers live in Nashville.
Yeah.
That's where the Black Keys live.
Yeah. Well, you guys can talk rock. I'm worried about LSU. By the way, Tigers' first practice August the 6th. I think they report August the 5th. And I think everybody is going to have plenty of bulletin board material once all of these preseason teams and predictions are released, even though they don't mean anything. I think it's good motivational stuff for you.
Charles Duncan, Ole Miss will beat the Aggies. Ole Miss is dangerous.
Well, but they got to find a defense, and I think that's the question every year.
Yeah, but how much of one do they need to find?
Well, you saw LSU. I mean, they gave up 43, and they gave up Keyshawn Butte with a record-breaking 300-plus yards receiving. So, by the way, we have not gone down the highway of Miles Brennan and Max Johnson, but that is going to be plenty of talk and discussion moving forward. And I think you've been on top of this. The main thing I think that I've said on this, Mike, LSU played 3 quarterbacks last year. Everybody knows Miles, and then TJ, and then Max at the end. You cannot afford to have one of those scholarship quarterbacks leave, and I'm talking either Max Johnson or Brennan, because that would leave you with just 2 and a true freshman. So you may be on to that. I don't think Miles Brennan is going anywhere now that he's got the NIL deals, and a lot of people think that Miles Brennan is going to get the start just to ensure he's not going to leave before the season, and then Max Johnson may get a chance to play either later in that game or in the 2 cupcakes that follow. You know, if they play McNeese, there's a chance both of them are going to play. And the same thing with Central Mich. Mike, I can't impress enough upon you and those listening and watching tonight how important that first game is to start LSU off on the right foot, because this ESPN FPI, they actually said LSU is predicted to win 7.2 games. I got them coming out the gate 6 or 7-0 if they take care of business in the first game.
If there's an online media outlet that takes wagers on ESPN's FPI, I want that.
Yeah.
I want that one.
Yeah.
Brett Hunter, what about Amari Abor? I think that's still Alabama.
I'm sorry, who was that?
Amari Abor, the defensive end from
okay.
Duncanville, Texas.
Yeah.
High 4-star kid. Let's see. Yeah, here's a question. Gregory Price, need both Hodson and Guidry style. I talked about that somewhat earlier today. Is there a 2-quarterback scenario for LSU?
The problem is this. You've got to have a very clear crystal ball on when to put the second guy in. And I'm not going to go back to the long story when LSU was playing Georgia in the daytime, and David Green, I think, got hurt, and they put in DJ Shockley, who was a true freshman at the time, on about their own 5-yard line, and Muschamp was a DC, and Saban was the head coach, and they went after that guy, and he was I think he had to change his pants a couple times. he was so nervous. So, field position and where do you put him in, and do you guarantee a guy so many series? I mean, I just hope this. I want to see Coach O be a little bit more discreet instead of so transparent. He's even saying it. He said the thing with Detillier a couple weeks ago. Well, we know who it is. I just hope
the guys in the locker room know who it is.
I think that he needs to tone down a little bit of saying too much. He needs to have the poker face with this quarterback deal so UCLA prepares for both of them.
Charles Duncan is Kendrick Law, still LSU. I think that one is still undecided. Very much a quiet recruiting process for Kendrick. I don't think him or his dad, great people, tip their hand either way. So that's one that we're still following, and I don't have a strong feeling on that one.
But Alabama had gotten in with him a little bit.
Yeah, Alabama, there's some guys that they feel he's trending Alabama. So we'll see.
Now, is he an athlete, DB, or running back, or
he's
what?
He's an offensive athlete that Pete's absolutely wants. So you can do a lot of stuff with him. You can line him at running back. You can line him up at the slot. And he's also a hell of a defensive player. He's a special teams guy. I mean, he can do a lot of things. Pat Mashburn, no, I do not see this. I heard that Citizen is also a good defensive player. Could he be a Devin White? No, he's a running back.
Yeah. Nice pickup. Kid reminds me a lot of TDP, Tyrion Davis-Price. I think he's probably going to end up about 225 at LSU as he naturally gets bigger. But I know you like him a lot. And
he's got some wheels on him.
Yeah, he's got some wheels.
Matthew and Mitchell, is this merger real or someone just drumming up conversation?
Can you imagine how many clicks the Houston Chronicle got on that today?
That's insane. And then you had a bunch of people saying that the Advocate broke it. No, it was the Houston Chronicle that broke it. But yeah, when we first got wind that A&M wanted to join the league, how long? Obviously there was 2011 when they sent letters. It became official in the summer of 2012.
That's correct.
But there was a first effort that got denied. Mm-hmm. And what year was that? Was that like 2 years before?
That was 1 year.
Okay.
1 year, and then they were trying to figure out what the second team was going to be because you couldn't have 13. That would have messed everything up.
And Oklahoma was a part of that.
Yeah,
and Oklahoma State brought
Oklahoma almost went to the Pac, remember, a couple years ago. So look,
Oklahoma State is going to be a thorn in Oklahoma's side. I'm just telling you.
Well, it is a lot of tugging, but it's just crazy how we look at the landscape, and it's changing every week.
Logan Smith, who will start at the other tackle spot?
Offensive tackle? Well, Cam Wire
played good last year.
Is a guy that did play good. And don't forget, Dale Rosenthal missed games last year. So Cam Wire did have to play. I want to say Coach O a couple weeks ago with T-Bob and Jacob mentioned Garrett Dellinger. We know that Xavier Hill played some left tackle. We know that Chasen Hines just put out a video of clean and jerking, almost 400. He looks like he's lost his belly. All those guys look like they are in appreciably better shape. I think this is going to be interesting. Oh, by the way, Declan at SEC Media Days couldn't stop talking about Brad Davis. He's a stern guy. He wants you to do it his way. But he loves you, and I think this is going to be a home run.
Holy smokes! If I would have had my video camera running where he was getting after some high school offensive linemen that were like, none of these guys were LSU caliber in this particular group that day. Boy, he was reaming them, and then he was reaming another group that had some top kids in it. Like, didn't like the way they were taking their time, getting from one drill to the next, and. Boy, you looking at me? And I mean, yeah, no, he gets after it.
Doomerville is also a guy that ought to be in the mix. Thomas Perry, we like that guy. He was really good, had a great future, got hurt. When's he going to show up? And I think Declan also talked about Kimo McAnally. Very impressed with him coming in June. So, look, we always talk about it.
Brad Davis. Savion Jones up to almost 30 pounds in 5 weeks.
D-line is not going to be a problem. That's going to be the strength of the team.
You know, people said, "Oh, look at the work Moffitt's doing." No. Yeah, Moffitt does work. This kid worked out anyways. This kid was a hard worker before he got here. He lifts weights.
Come on, man. Moffitt got you those guns.
No. I'll tell you what it is the lunch lady. That's who it is.
Yeah.
The nutritionist. I would love to see him go down that line in the new nutrition center and what's on his plate, 3 or 4 times a day, and what his calorie count is.
Well, defensive line is going to be three deep across the board. They really are going to play 10 or 11 guys. Offensive line, Davis wants to get 10. They'll probably end up with 8 or 9 that they can depend on.
Yeah, Mark Jett. Sorry to hear about legend Bobby Bowden. Yeah, that was, and I really like Jimbo Fisher talking about him today. That was real nice. Has he passed?
No, he hadn't passed, but they did announce that he's got a serious medical. I think he got the word that whatever he's got is and he's at peace. And I got to tell you, I had a relationship with Coach Bowden many years ago, and we were good friends. And I gave him crawfish and all the things. He was coming over to play LSU when they were at #1. And lo and behold, the man was a good man. He's a Christian man, but he's lived to 91. He's had a full life, and I think him and his wife, Miss Ann, are at peace. But man, listen, most coaches, what happens when they retire? They pass. Bear Bryant, Joe Paterno, all these guys. Bobby Bowden is going to tell you, I've lived an incredible life. I'm ready to meet my maker.
Yeah, no, he absolutely did. But
now he was out of favor around here for a while because he took Sean Jackson and a lot of Louisiana athletes, work done and all for a while.
It was 20 years ago where he was recruiting Jamarcus Russell. And Jamarcus Russell said he came in the house and forgot his name. So, you know, he's had an extra 20 years past that. Yeah. So, no, but he you know, look, I'm sure there's some negative Bobby Bowden stories out there that I don't remember, but...
Well, he put a dent in LSU recruiting because it was more cool to go to Miami and Florida State than LSU at the time.
But remember, LSU wanted to hire him. He said he almost took the job. He said, well, why would I need to go there? My program's better than that one.
Well, and once again, why play in the SEC if you don't have to?
Yeah. And, of course, that was always the angle that LSU fans took towards Florida State was they were running scared and they stayed in the ACC. Because remember, there was talk at times of Florida State joining the SEC.
Sure, that's what I mean.
In the early '90s, when Arkansas and South Carolina came over.
Yeah.
So, praying for Bobby Bowden, says Kenny Futch. Mentor to many, says Mark Chambers. Brian, anything new on Cardell Thomas? No.
That's from Brian Madare?
That's from Pat Mashburn.
Oh, Pat Mashburn. He's wearing 58. We'll see if he's lost some of that belly, and we'll see. I'm not hearing any reports that he's going to...
The fall camp hadn't started yet.
Well, and look, another guy I didn't mention, Anthony Bradford's got a chance to really be a guy in the 2 deep and be in the mix. You may see big Anthony Bradford playing some this year with an early injury, and you know what always happens. That's why you need 10, Mike. I worry about Shanahan. I don't know who the backup center would be and how good they would be, but I think Coach Brad Davis is going to have enough depth to get by, especially early in the season.
Brian, Annie Pinton, do you think Terry Bowden will bring some wins at ULM? I'm not familiar with what the talent level like is at ULM, but...
Well, I'll tell you this. There won't be a point spread on the second to last game. They come in and play LSU the 11th game right before the finale against A&M. And, I know Tim Brando did some stuff with them. But, look, it's a big name for him. But I'm like you. I don't know, how far they can go with that program.
Well, he started the run where Auburn became LSU's #1 foe. You know, it was him, and then, of course, Tuberville with the cigars and everything. But that was a run until... You know, Auburn was LSU's really their #1 most hated team until, Nick Saban arrived in Tuscaloosa. Because nobody, cared about Shula and Dubose.
All right.
All right. And I was eating some oatmeal cream pies the other day, and I was thinking about Saban.
Yeah.
Charles Duncan, is Quincy Wiggins still LSU? I have not changed on my thoughts on Quincy Wiggins being LSU. I know some people got nervous a few weeks ago. I think Quincy and Emory Jones, and that's where Le'Veon Moss, we talked about earlier. Major Burns, a big factor, and many others. Will Campbell and Bo Bordelon and Walker Howard, they're all communicating and talking with each other, and they all want to be a part of a difference maker signing class, which they believe this 2022 class can be.
Well, let me just interject real quick, Mike, that you have been working with these guys, and you've worked your tail off for the last 2 years of going, seeing these guys, talking to the coaches, establishing the relationships, and instead of just throwing something across the wall and against the wall and hoping it sticks, when that came out, you were going like, well, I'm pretty confident in my relationships. Now, look, we never know what's going to happen in recruiting, especially with this NIL deal and the transfer portal and all the other parameters that have changed as of late. But when you start a relationship and talk to the right people, I think you got a little bit of pulse on a lot of these guys. A lot of people on the internet, there ain't no way he knows about Moss and all that. Once again, you've been doing the work.
But here, Le'Veon Moss, I didn't think there was any issues there. He goes to Alabama and then he commits.
Yeah.
And I know LSU didn't think anything
Shocked
of it.
everybody.
So you never know when something like that can come out of the woodwork. I know a lot of people say there's nothing going on with Aaron Anderson. And look, I don't want LSU to lose Kendrick Law. He's a fantastic athlete. But I think you'd be more sick if they were to lose Aaron Anderson.
Oh, man, you got
Because when I see Aaron Anderson play, I'm like, that is a Saban guy. Like, yeah, he's an LSU guy, but when I say he's a Saban guy, like Saban knows what that guy can do to defenses, and he knows. Of course, I started comparing him to Josh Reed. Of course, Josh Reed was a Saban Biletnikoff winner. He's the type of guy that if you got to face him every year on the other side of the field, he's making you sick because he's causing you nothing but headaches.
I'm gonna get sick.
He's like the little receiver. He's like the little receiver at Texas A&M that LSU was in on. What's the fast athlete, the receiver?
Not Speedy, no.
No, this year. Last year played. Guys, what's the little receiver track kid for A&M?
Well, JoJo Earl, let me just say this. If Saban steals Aaron Anderson after stealing JoJo's last year, JoJo Earl, at the end, I'm going to really be sick.
Yep. Kenny Futch, Wiggins is a must get. Charles Duncan with his 98th question. Julian Armula, I don't have anything to say there. I don't think that's trending LSU.
No? Okay.
Look, Blake Ruffino chimes in. Are you serious? Give me Anthony Bradford. I think there's a whole lot of guys that are excited about Coach Davis, and some of them are getting a new lease. Some are getting a fresh start, and I think some of them. I think what I want to hear is that there's some stories where some guys have responded to his style, and they've got a new lease and move up. Whether it's a Perry, Cardell Thomas, whoever. So let's see. C. King. I spoke to someone who knows the situation. He said he'd be shocked if Law went to Alabama. There you go. We'll see, C. King. No doubt. Law's talented track kid. Interviewed him after their playoff loss at East Ascension on that slop in Gonzales, pour down rain, and talk about a super kid. Great interview. His dad's a super guy. Of course, was one of his coaches, and we'll see how that plays out.
Hey, I asked you about TAP today. I thought you'd be a little more positive. What's the latest thing?
Yeah,
I don't know.
I'm very leery of kids that don't come to camp.
Mm-hmm. But he's got an offer.
Harold Hilbert asked him right after you did, Jamon Tap.
Okay.
I'm going to have something on Jamon Tap here real soon.
All right.
All right, guys, hit us with some more questions.
Yeah, don't let Mike get out of here. Look, I've been feeling...
What was the takeaway? I wanted to ask you. What was the main takeaway from Jay Johnson? Do you have anything revealing? Does he have anything? Does he? I was told that there's a possible pitcher, left a lefty coming.
We mentioned that, and a couple of things. I asked him about why his team is so good offensively, and he gave me a long answer on that. And just everything that he says makes so much sense. And I asked him, I said, look, there hadn't been a lot of lefties here, and you're watching NC State with a 96 closer and a 97 closer, and he talked about bringing in lefties. And they're really working the roster too, because as we know, he's trying to do it the right way, just like Kim Mulkey did. You're getting players that followed you to Baylor and Arizona respectively, but you want to do it in the classy way. And LSU is going to score a lot of runs, but can he get enough pitching? I think that, and he's very confident of his pitching coach. And look, I am excited as can be about the future of LSU baseball. Guy's working his tail off.
Did you ask him anything about Alex Bach's improvements?
No, I did not get to that question.
Because that's been quiet. Because that was one of the things right before he got introduced. There was talk that they need to sink about 15 to 20 million into Alex Bach's. And you know, look, when you see what Mississippi State does with that outfield, and you got people out there grilling, and you got like a tiki hut I saw out there, and they're serving up margaritas in the works.
Oh yeah.
I mean, LSU needs to have. I mean, if LSU were to do something like that, it'd be off the chain. So I don't know what they can do. You know, you got the, behind the outfield, you got the indoor facility, and you got that coulee back there, which is where the rally possum came from. But I don't know what you can do out there.
Win and produce exciting offensive baseball with a lot of home runs and finish games with closers. That's how you get people back out at the box.
Eddie Santos, let's get a class prediction, Mike. I think this class is going to be one of the top 2 or 3 in the nation when it's all said and done. Of course, we all want to talk about offensive linemen. I think Emory Jones on the 30th will be LSU. And if there's a better guard in America, I'd like to see him. And then from there, let's see who the 1 or 2 others that come in, whether it be for LSU's Junior Day type of event next week. Of course, the dead period will end, and there's a stretch next week of recruiting, so you're going to have more visitors next week. And they're going to have like a Boys from the Boot type of event. And so let's see what offensive linemen show up for that, for visits. And let's see what offensive linemen come for unofficial and official visits once the season starts. So that's going to be very interesting. But I think when you start talking about, well, let's see what happens with Le'Veon Moss flipping. Got Shaz Preston, who nobody's asked about tonight. Fantastic wide receiver.
Walker's been working him
Walker
hard.
Howard wants him as bad, and he's fantastic. Catches everything.
Brother played at Mississippi State.
Yeah, so, yeah, look, it's when you start looking at with all these guys and Harold Perkins and start thinking about who can fill in the gaps and where it's at, and those are all highly rated prospects. And I think there's multiple kids who are very undervalued. I still see Aaron Anderson out there as a 3-star on one of the networks, and that is downright asinine. Asinine, you hear me? Fix that, people. Mike, are you going to attend any Coach's Caravan events? Have they put that schedule out? I haven't seen that.
I don't think they put that schedule out. It has been changed, with the spike in the reporting of the virus here lately with the Delta variant. Ross Dellinger, you saw your buddy Ross Dellinger. I don't know if you saw this tweet, but he said there's some rumors and innuendos that Sankey may change a little bit on some of the protocols. Of course, right now, if you're 85%, the way they treat you is a little bit differently. Then what he tweeted out is that, but if you're not, and if you're 85%, then they don't test and they don't have contact tracing, which was the biggest impact of COVID last night. Contact tracing, you got a left guard and a left tackle, they got it. But everybody on that line that's been close to them, they had to sit out 10 days, if you remember last year. But if you're 85% or more, originally they said, well, you're not going to have to go through testing and we're not going to do the contact tracing. Well, Dellinger tweeted out, well, oh, by the way, they may change that and say, even if you're at 85%, if you're not vaccinated, you may have to get tested and treated differently. So this thing has been a mess, and everybody knows it is a personal decision. It's a family decision. Kirby Smart in Georgia has said that they have been
I
over.
like Mike Leach's answer this morning.
What did he say? Oh, I'm not going to tell you, and I wouldn't tell you whatever.
Yeah.
He said, that's none of your business. I wouldn't tell you if I wanted to tell you, or something like that.
My guess is he's had it.
Yeah, I think so too.
My guess is he's had it.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Look, you were spicy a little while ago. I will be supremely pissed if we start having this craziness rear its ugly head right around the start of football season. It's bad enough we got to avoid tropical storms and hurricanes in this part of the country that threaten us every year in football. If this thing rears its ugly head again, man, there are going to be some really spicy fans.
Mike Calico, what is the chance that LSU's recruiting class is so good that they don't leave any room for transfers? I think we're probably going to be in December similar to where we were last December, where you're at 21 and maybe you go beyond Christmas with 3 or 4 spots left, and you maybe have 1 or 2 that if you need it in the off season. I think that's going to be there. By the way, a little interesting tidbit. I talked to a source that I think they pretty much feel that the Our Lady of the Lake stuff's behind them. They're like, that's over. That's gone.
Yeah.
Like between the 8 scholarships absorbed last year towards the 85 and the bowl ban, self-imposed bowl ban, that they're done. Now we wait on Will Wade. So with NIL money and head coaches out there bragging about how their quarterbacks already got close to $1 million, what do you do to Will Wade for being on tape saying damn strong offer?
If he has not been punished at this point,
I mean, seriously.
I just call me a crazy, naive homer or whatever. I just don't. If they'd have had the goods on him, something would have gone down by now.
So this is my analogy. This would be like if you got caught with a little baggie of marijuana in the state of Colorado, and then 2 weeks later, you hadn't had your court date yet, but 2 weeks later they passed the law making it legal for recreational marijuana, and then that guy goes to court after the fact. What does the judge do?
Damn, I didn't realize it. The girlfriend just went to Breckenridge. Maybe I need to ask some questions.
Yeah. Better hope she doesn't try to come back and look like at the airport she's like Midnight Express.
Well, look, it's going to be interesting, and once again, I think the fact that Mark Emmert and Scott Woodward have a very tight relationship is going to bode well for LSU in the end. Now, nobody will ever get treated like Alabama is with their funky math. Did you know the state of Alabama has changed their math to say 25 equals 30? You understand what I'm pointing out with the scholarships? I don't know how they do it, but they seem to find a place. Oh, by the way, one other tidbit. LSU with Jalen Sheed, you can't afford to have too many of those. Seth Stewart is the last recruit that signed with LSU, showed up, stayed a couple hours, and said, "This is not for me," and went bye-bye. So
what year was that?
That was, I think, 17? No, I'm not sure.
And then who was before him? I'll give you one. Carnell Ainsworth, Parkview Baptist.
Oh, yeah.
Charles Duncan says it starts next Thursday in Covington at Walk-Ons.
Okay.
I might actually go to that one, Charles. Thanks for telling me. Covington, Lafayette, Lake Charles, Houston. What is that Lafayette date, Charles? Let me know. Dane Bergeron, one of our strong subscribers to TigerBait. Guys, do me a favor. Go to TigerBait, subscribe. We want to have you as a premium subscriber. Choose the annual package. You only get billed once. That way, when you get the annual, you save 3 months. You're basically getting 3 months free when you choose the annual, and you don't get billed every month. You just get billed one time. It's the much better deal. We got a lot coming your way. Lots of recruiting about to be happening in the coming weeks. Some big news on the horizon. Some you might know about and some you don't. And you're going to get our newsletters, our text alerts for breaking news, all of our stuff, practice reports, and everything that's going to be coming up with football practice right around the corner. I mean, it's here. So we want to have you as a subscriber to TigerBait and a part of our premium message board, the Tiger Den. Our Tiger Den message board is growing. We've got a lot of great discussion there. I'm there day and night answering questions 7 days a week. So got a lot of really good guys on there that have real good opinions and a lot of good banner on our premium message board. So if you're an LSU fan, we want to have you as a subscriber to TigerBait.com. So go subscribe. We want to have you.
By the way, I think one of the positions that a lot of national people are sleeping on, Mike, is LSU and the influx of new wide receivers. I'm hearing some great things. Jack Besh is going to be a flex tight end. He's not going to be big enough to block on the line of scrimmage. That's going to be Cole Taylor and Nick Storrs. Devonta Lee is a big receiver. You may see him in the slot as a flex tight end. Max's brother, Jake Johnson, is coming in. He's not going to be on the line of scrimmage and put his hand in the ground and block. I'm thinking Jacoby and Gilroy and some of those D linemen will come in and be those big bodies inside the 5-yard line when they play that smash mouth. But, man, I'm hearing about Besh. I'm hearing about Chris Hilton. I'm hearing about Malik Neighbors. There's a lot of freshman wide receivers. And you know the one thing about it, that's a position, that and running back, where you can come in. You may not have to know the whole offense, but if you can execute the fade and this and that, and 3 or 4 or 5 different routes, they'll find a place. I'm excited to see this new talent coming in here. And Tiger fans, if they can make the right decision at quarterback and protect the quarterback, going to be fun to see all these wide receivers get a chance. Because, look, Butte is going to get doubled every game until you have a second, third, and fourth wide receiver to complement him.
Harold Hibbard subscribed and loved the text alerts. I'm glad to have you, Harold. Harold subscribed last week. Very much appreciate it. I'm glad you're enjoying the site and the text alerts. And look at this name. Boy, this is a blast from the past. Zach Pendarvis. Buddy, looking great, man. That voice is synonymous with LSU sports. Glad you are well.
What's up, Zach? Long time no talk, my man.
Ah, boy, I remember covering him.
By the way, as always, Mike's looking up the thing. A job well done is the job done with pride and by Pride Roofing. Can't reiterate enough about the job that they do. And when we were dealing with all of the problems in Lake Charles and the freeze and the storm and this and that, that to me really says a lot about a company, not just trying to make every dollar that you can make, but those people who take pride in taking care of this community. And as you know, they've expanded, as you've talked about on numerous occasions. But please, make sure you give these guys an opportunity. And we've had 3 or 4 people that text me personally, man, I'm not going to lie to you, but man, they are X amount of dollars higher. Boom, I said, call Mike and Alex, and they got it done, and they sharpened the pencil. So they want your business. They appreciate your business. You couldn't have a better corporate sponsor for this show.
Absolutely fantastic. Mike Freddie, of course, LSU grad, Broadmoor High grad, and they are getting, it's phenomenal, their growth. Sulphur all the way to Gulf Shores, and getting bigger in Lafayette. And a bunch of TigerBait viewers have jumped on board with them for roofs. Bo Wilson, do you think LSU changes its drug policy anytime soon? I don't see any evidence that anything's going to be changing with LSU's drug policy anytime soon. And I get the feeling that now that Shelley Mullinex is actually gotten a higher position in the athletic department, that even solidifies LSU's drug policy. And I don't think she's interested in changing it whatsoever.
Well, Coach O was asked about it. Jacques asked Greg Sankey and Coach O and all that, and basically Coach O said, look, this is not an Ed Ogeron protocol. This is from the administration. We talked about it earlier. Should LSU be at a competitive disadvantage? Do they get some type of perks for holding their guys accountable? But as we know with the laws with recreational marijuana, they have changed across the country and will continue to change. So at some point, they're going to have to address it. And it is a little problematic when you have a guy who's been slapped on the wrist and has let his team down and did it again, but yet he can go to the Bluegrass State, no pun intended, and start for Kentucky. And LSU is going to face Dare Rosenthal. Yeah. And that to me is a little bit of an imbalance that needs to get fixed.
And Kentucky doesn't care.
No. Well, none of them care because it's all cost, to win.
Yeah. And because of the 20-hour rule, It's not like in the old days where if a football player messed up, you could make them get there at 5 in the morning and run the stadium. Because you've got every minute with these kids allotted. You can't do those sorts, so that's off the table. So if Shelley Mullinex and the brass at LSU are all about punishment rather than rehab, well then you're going to continue to get what you get right now, and then to the point where after the second or third one, you got to send them to a rehab facility out of town and everything else that's there. It's, and when do you find out about Alabama's football players in weed? You get whispers on the NFL Network the night before the draft.
Yeah, at the combine.
But meanwhile, they probably flunked 7 or 8 tests in 4 years at Alabama and never missed a down. So
well, look, you know this, Tiger fans. LSU's over and under in Vegas right now is 8.5, and I think they're going to be over. I think right now I'm looking at 9-3, 10-2 probably. Is where I'd like to see him, but 9-3 gives you a little comfort. It still wins the 8.5 bet. Alabama 11.5 on the over and under. If they lose one football game in the regular season, the under wins that bet. And you with me, Georgia and Florida 1-2 in the East. Whenever it comes out tomorrow or Friday, I forget when they release it. It might be tomorrow morning. But Alabama 1, A&M 2, LSU 3, Ole Miss 4. The other two behind Georgia and Florida, some people thinking Kentucky can surprise people, and don't sleep on Missouri. But the West, once again, very strong compared to the East.
I can't remember. Do they give you the vote totals? Do they give you the numbers?
They do.
Because I talked to several Alabama media guys today, like guys that cover Alabama, one's in Huntsville, and they're voting LSU second.
Yeah.
And so I'm wondering how close it's going to be.
Not, you mean for the second spot?
For the second spot.
Yeah.
I think A&M's going to get it, but I wonder if it's as groupthink as you think. Because I think people are studying it, and
they are the flavor of the month and flavor of the year, and that's what was so ironic.
If it wasn't for their schedule looking the way it looks, I would absolutely say they're fool's gold.
I agree. But what I was going to say is the irony of it is that Jimbo's getting it ready to come in there and rah-rah everybody and say, we were close to getting into the CFP last year and yada, yada, yada. And then he gets hit with this bombshell about, of course, Texas and OU possibly have an interest in joining the conference. And so,
I'll tell you what, I liked his quip. Of course they do.
Yeah.
And then I'm watching Ross Bjork on with Feinbaum.
Yeah, he went crazy.
No, and I agree with him. I'm against it.
Yeah.
I don't like it. Unless you can show me a scenario where LSU's not losing Auburn, Alabama, and Florida in those types of games.
By the way, did you notice Dan Mullen actually mentioned, it wouldn't be so bad if we got out of those constant opponents.
No, because, and see, he thinks correctly. Whereas Muschamp didn't want to lose LSU.
Yeah. Well, what's Muschamp doing besides
playing golf and collecting his money?
Collecting money, yeah.
But he has to show effort, doesn't he?
I mean, I don't know at this point, but it's the best profession in the world. A fired college coach.
Brian Thorgeson. Boy, I can't look at the sausage at Rousey's without hearing Buddy's voice in my head since the Curly days.
Holy cow. Crazy Curly. Remember that bumper sticker? And remember a couple years after he was here?
I remember the Golden Flake commercials.
That was brutal. Well, look, we do go back a ways, and as we know that Mike Archer was my first year, and they went 10-1-1, and those were still the days where you could have a tie.
What was your first year in talk radio?
88.
And what state? Was that IBR?
Yeah, IBR across the river.
Okay.
So, but
and then was it IBR on Wooddale?
No. I went over to a bunch. Then I went over to College Drive, and
okay, yeah.
I don't have the memory to go through all my stations, my man.
Oh,
but,
yeah.
We appreciate all those folks, and I'll just say this, and I've told this story before, Mike. I really, and no disrespect to Joe Leva and F. King Alexander, but if they would have stayed around, I probably would have played more golf and got on a rocking chair. And I was waiting for Scott Woodward to come in and have an impact. And he at least said, I didn't have anything to do with this national championship in 2019. This is luck on my part getting here. But now the way he has aligned the coaches and the turnover. And now, look, I know a lot of the people, and myself is included, might have different politics and the direction that they're going. I joke about. I went to LSU the other day, and there were signs all over the place. No right turns. That all being said, he's done a good job, and possibly a great job with these new coaches.
But before he got Mulkey and before Johnson, and I was kind of saying, man, what has he done since he got here? I was kind of giving him, saying, hey, what's on the ledger?
Yeah.
But okay, certainly the alcohol in the stadium came right after he got the job. That's a big deal. That's a revenue producer. Of course, you didn't get that revenue last year. But now you got Kim Mulkey, got Jay Johnson. So now I think the only thing, if you're scratching your head or you're going to complain about, it's LSU's drug policy. And Jacques Dusay had a plan to go and ask Sankey and then Orgeron and whoever else he posed a question to, and it just didn't get any traction.
And still we're not getting any traction on.
Yeah, because the other schools look at it and they think, if LSU wants to keep shooting themselves in the foot, let them do it.
But I was going to say, changing the schedule and getting away from the constant Eastern opponent. It's a little weird because if you remember, because of COVID and some other things, we've had some tweaking of the schedule. But LSU's not played at Kentucky in 14 years.
Everybody I know that is a constant traveler with the football team, they all, without a doubt, most of them will tell you that Kentucky is the best road trip.
One of the best, if not the best.
Andy Whitaker, Mike, wouldn't the SEC put Texas and Oklahoma in opposite divisions to maintain current structure? Do they come in the league and split up?
Well, look, none of it makes sense. Missouri's in the East, and geographically.
And then when OU would become their common opponent?
I mean, look, I think it's all. How many conference games are you going to play?
And is there still a state fair game up there?
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's like I said, it's not as easy as 1, 2, 3. This is going to take a lot of work, and there's going to be a lot of politicking, a lot of lobbying, and. It's going to be interesting because TV money has a lot to say about this. And as I said earlier, Texas and OU are committed to the Big 12 with TV rights for men's basketball and football till 2025. They'd have to pay a big-ass penalty.
That was something else that I was told earlier, that you think of Texas and you think population. But I was told that actually that number isn't needed. That Texas A&M has the state.
You mean TV viewers?
The TV viewers that come with Texas doesn't move the needle for the SEC. So that is not an argument. I think the only argument is maybe the one that Feinbaum was grasping or that he was putting forward was, if you're Sankey, you talk to him and you look at the scenario backwards and forwards and you talk it over with your university presidents. And you see if it makes sense, because if they're looking around and you can get first dibs and it makes sense, then you do it. But because obviously they're looking to leave the Big 12, so they're going to end up somewhere. Mm-hmm. Do you want them to join the ACC? Do you want them to join the Pac-12? And I don't see them in the Big 10. But, I don't know.
Well, the phones have been burned up ever since the story came out. I guarantee you, there are people on all sides of this fence making calls. You talked about the A&M AD, and he says basically, are you kidding me? We kind of thought we had an agreement that we'd be the only school in Texas. And then, of course, you got OU. I don't know if you saw their statement, but they were kind of wishy-washy and saying, we're not going to talk about, you don't have a real legitimate unnamed sources throwing this up against the wall. But there is some smoke. I don't think it's a done deal. I do think we're closer to getting finalization of the 12 teams in the CFP, and I haven't come to grips with that just yet.
Yeah, because then that's the other thing. It's like, okay, you're going to add 2 more teams in the league, and then we're going to have a 12-team playoff as well. I mean, something's got to give.
Yeah. And so from that standpoint, Texas and Oklahoma wouldn't do them any good coming to the SEC, because they certainly, and the way that would be is that the top 4 seeds in the 12-team CFP, the top 4 seeds would all get byes. 5 would play 12 at home, 6 would play 11. 7 would play 10, and 8 would host 9. So the higher seeded team would host. That's what you got on the 12 team CFP. But, there's been some discussion. Most people think it's close to being done. I don't know. You heard what Leach said? He said, 12 would be all right, but I want 64. I want everybody, which doesn't make any sense because how many games would you have to play? You can't play it like basketball. You can't play a football playoff like basketball. It doesn't make any sense at all. But, that's the parent.
I'm siding with the Aggies on this one.
You say no to the expansion?
Yeah.
And what about the 12-team CFP?
Partly because I would love to. I like seeing Texas ride on the vine.
By the way, their contract with ESPN on the Longhorn Network extends all the way to 2031. So they got another 10 years. I always thought
But see, ESPN owns the Longhorn Network, and so
that's what I'm saying.
They just fold that into the SEC.
But I always wondered why, like you just talked about the viewers with A&M and more passionate. I always wondered why ESPN did that deal with Texas. They were going to do a deal with one team. Should have been Alabama or somebody like that.
I would love to see the numbers nationwide for the number of people that subscribe to the Longhorn Network.
I don't know.
I bet you the numbers aren't what you think they are.
Yeah.
And then especially if you're looking at if your true gauge is a la carte, and it's not a part of someone's package because they live in, the Austin area. If you have to pay for it, so. All right, guys, look at this. This is the longest show we've ever done, 1 hour and 16 minutes. I want to thank everybody for participating. Please like, share. Please go to TigerBait.com and subscribe. Thanks to Buddy Sanji for joining me tonight. Thanks to Pride Roofing for sponsoring. Give them a call, 225-275-2041. Let them pay for your TigerBait.com with your free roof inspection. They're going to pay for you to get TigerBait for a year. So hit the like button, share, and go from here to TigerBait and subscribe. Choose the annual package. We want to have you. Good night, everybody. Check us out on TigerBait. We got a lot coming your way in the next few days, and we'll be back here next week. Good night.